a mansalva. Como si se vengara, le quita la papa al buche. El miedo que me embute ya está carcomido. Apagar mi incendio no lo ha conseguido. Soy la turba con la mugre en las uñas. Tantas lunas de curvia me queman la garganta. Atragantada con todos nuestros muertos, mando a medio pueblo a chupar gladiolo. Por eso su acomodo es candela pa' mis ojos. Mando a medio pueblo a chupar gladiolo. Por eso su acomodo es candela pa' mis ojos.
Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in this online demonstration. We have people from Colombia. We are really happy to have you here.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much for joining our online demonstration for Colombia. We are happy to have people joining from Europe, from the United States, from Canada, from Colombia, and from other places all around the world. So I'm Angelica, I'm a Colombian, and I live in the Netherlands. Here I'm studying a master's program in arts and heritage. And Ita?
I am Ita. I'm a PhD researcher in the Netherlands as well. I am part of the organizing collective of this beautiful initiative, Here We Draw the Line.
Yeah, indeed. So we are part of the collective Here We Draw the Line, and we are a collective of women living all around the world. Through art, we open spaces to denounce and draw attention on the human rights situation or the human rights problematic actually happening in Colombia. And also spaces like this one to demonstrate and to express our opinions, our insights as well concerning the stigmatization and criminalization of protests in Colombia. I think it is important to highlight that one of our main motivations with this event is to take part and express support to the Colombians who have taken the streets nationally, but also internationally, to demand a variety of legitimate rights and to express their disapproval with the politics and the wrongdoing of the Colombian government. So we are aware that there are several initiatives run by Colombian diaspora living abroad or living outside of Colombia. And in this event, we join forces with demonstrations and also demonstrators in Europe, in the United States, and in Colombia. So basically, in this event, we will have live demonstrations from different locations. We'll have special guests who will talk later on. And of course, we'll have the support of all of you, the people who are seeing and joining this live streaming on the other side of the screen.
Thank you so much, Angelica. Indeed, I would like just to make a short clarification. We will hold this conversation mostly in English. However, because this is about Colombia, Spanish has to come up somehow and in some way. So for those who doesn't feel totally empowered to speak English, you are most than welcome. You can speak in Spanish. Entonces estoy diciendo que claramente vamos a mantener una conversación en inglés. Sin embargo, para quienes se sienten más cómodos hablando en español, lo pueden hacer. De alguna manera creo que esto mutará al Spanglish. Somehow I think that we will end up speaking Spanglish, but this is also cool. This is how it is, like the result of this mix of people around the world showing solidarity with the Colombian people. And also we will show some videos as Angelica just explained to all of you. So I'm really happy because we have today here Santiago Franco, who is joining us from Medellin. But before introducing you with Santiago, I would like to show you this video from the streets in Medellin. This is how the people in Colombia and Medellin have been living the strike. So can we play the video? Really hard to follow what is happening at the same time. So now, first of all, because we just saw these images from Medellin, I would like to ask Santiago, who is joining us directly from Medellin, how are you? How are you doing? Can you tell us, please, a bit, how are you living the current situation in Colombia? How the demonstrations have been taking place? What is the reaction of the police and the army? It would be really nice to know.
Well, first of all, thanks to stay here adding their voices in this way to protest. We can resist in a lot of ways. Well, I had the experience the last 10 days in the streets, working with the people, staying with the medical mission, staying with these guys from the first line, these guys that holds the shield to protect people from the abuse from police. Well, in Medellin, it's very different. I think the protests take away from cultural expressions, different concerts, gigs, and performance in the streets. I think it's much fluid and not including violence that could bring a lot of damage to the population. It is different than Cali, or it's different than the Popayan right now. Yesterday, the police was killing civilians in the streets with these powerful and deadly weapons. I think the protest is taking a lot of different manifestations in the streets. Right now in Medellin, it's very pacific, yeah. I think it's different in different places because people has different conditions to live. People has different levels of anger, and I think it's cool to feel this way in Medellin, but it is not normal to feel this way about the other countries and about the other cities here in Colombia, because the high levels of stress and anxiety that you feel when you are seeing the social media and when you are seeing the systematic censure about the paro, about the civilians manifesting themselves, it is complicated. It is complicated to feel all this kind of stress because you want to help people in all the ways. Yeah. Here in Medellin, the people is taking the things, they're very peaceful. They can take the things, but in other places in Colombia, it's very sad to see the stories about the Instagram, how can I express this? It's very kind. It's very difficult to me to stay with these images in my head and trying to express in a very fluid way.
Thanks, Santiago, for your message. And I understand that it's really hard. Yes, try to think and reflect in another language different than our mother tongue, what is happening now in Colombia. So, actually, I think that also for Colombians outside, for those who are not currently in Colombia, we feel, yes, in the same way, and another sort of responsibility for not being there. So that's why I would like to ask Maria Angelica Prada. She's a Colombian. She's currently living in Germany. She's part of an amazing, beautiful collective, La Creciente. And also to Aura Angelica, she's also a Colombian. She's studying her PhD in USA, in New York. So I would like to ask for Maria Angelica, how do you feel? How do you see the situation? And especially, yes, what's the main feeling being a Colombian in a foreign country, seeing what is happening now in Colombia?
Hello, Ita. Hello, everyone. So first of all, thank you for organizing this online march. I think it is very important for us abroad to feel that we can contribute and that we can also be engaged with everything that is happening in Colombia. I've been living in Europe now for over 1 year, which means that I was present in 2019 in the first, let's say, the first wave of this paro nacional, right? This national strike. And I must say, it is really different. It is really different how you feel and how you experience as a Colombia such a big strike and such a big movement in your country when you are in when you're
Recording
taking
in
part
progress.
of the mobilizations than how you feel it when you're actually in another country. On my part, I felt frustrated. I have tried, and I think this is part of us trying to contribute, right, and to show our support to our friends, to our family, and to the people in Colombia that are putting their life in line to protest against injustice and against inequality in the country. But it's still difficult to see what is happening, the death, the unexplicable, well, no, it can be explained, but the abusive use of force on behalf of the police forces. So I think it is really, really frustrating, but at the same time, it gives you hope, right? To see that the people in Colombia are mobilizing nonstop for over 2 weeks, that young people are taking the streets. And I think it's very interesting what we're seeing in Colombia. And I hope from the outside, we can find ways to contribute a little bit more.
Thank you, Maria Angelica. Now we can listen Aura Angelica, maybe in English, and then it will be really nice if we can speak Spanish, and I will invite María de Los Ángeles para que nos cuente después de Aura Angelica qué se siente estar fuera del país y cómo ha vivido ella desde fuera este proceso. But first, Aura Angelica, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ita. Thank you to hear Draw the Line. We Draw the Line. It's very interesting, this demonstration, and I'm really happy to join you today. Yes, I've been here for like more years. I have been here and I live here the 2019 demonstration and this year and last year demonstration. And it's really frustrating feeling like what is happening in Colombia, how the police brutality start to rise and how the things are like going in this direction. Obviously, I'm really happy that the people are really protesting, and I'm really against what the Gobierno Duque is doing in our country. So I'm really supportive, and I'm really engaged with this process. Here in New York, the things are really interesting. Here in New York, there is a big community, Colombian community. So they start to join us in a different ways. In 2019, we started the strike in the same way as it started in Colombia. And we start to do also assemblies, and we start to discuss with all the community here in New York. But obviously the 2020 and the pandemic was really difficult, and we should stop these assemblies. But this year is amazing to see how the people, the community here in New York is involved in this demonstration, is supporting what is happening, is really angry about Duque government. The people is living here is seeing Colombia in a very, very bad situation. So right now, all Colombians around United States, I should say, because it happens the same in Florida, it happens the same in California, it happens the same in many different cities around United States. The people start to join us and to join the demonstration in Colombia, to support the demonstration in Colombia. And we try to do our best here to show to the international community that in Colombia there are a human rights violation, and we should raise your voice against this violation in the country. So yeah, so we are trying to do our best here to support the strike there in Colombia, and we all the time are thinking in our about our country, about our people, about our society, about our community. So the things have changed, and we see more and more people join us. So we are doing a good job, and we are showing that things should change in Colombia. So this is something that we see here in the United States, and supporting in Colombia in that way. Thank you,
Thank
Ita.
you so much, Aura Angelica, for your for your insight. People in Colombia are not alone. No están solos en Colombia. Ahorita me gustaría escuchar a María de Los Ángeles, que también está fuera del país, y nos va a ayudar con la traducción luego Angélica. María de Los Ángeles, ¿cómo estás? No te escuchamos.
Hola, buenas tardes, ¿cómo están?
Muy bien, cuéntanos, ¿cómo has vivido la situación estando fuera del país? ¿Cuál es tu mensaje de solidaridad para con la gente en Colombia?
Mi mensaje de solidaridad es decirles que no están solos, que se siente muy frustrante, muy impotente uno estando acá por fuera viendo todo lo que está pasando. Es muy triste ver cómo pasan por encima de los derechos de ellos, cómo no tienen el derecho a una protesta, cómo los censuran, cómo están matando a los jóvenes. También es muy fuerte porque igual de cierto modo uno tiene su familia y todos sus parientes en Colombia. Entonces es decirle que estamos haciendo un movimiento muy grande para que todo el mundo se informe y se entere de que ellos no están solo allá, los tienen incomunicados, donde les están quitando la posibilidad, donde hacen cortes parciales de energía en la ciudad de Cali, en el barrio Siloé que ha sido tan afectado, donde están violando una cantidad de derechos que no se puede hacer. Entonces es brindarles todo nuestro apoyo. Yo les digo a estos muchachos de primera línea que mi admiración total por la berraquera que han tenido, porque están entregando la vida entera, no les importa. Ellos están luchando por una causa justa, de igualdad. Ellos están exigiendo justicia, verdad, bien y vida. Es un derecho. Tenemos el derecho a la igualdad. No puede ser que reduzcan los impuestos para los ricos, para que generen empleo, cuando no han generado empleo, la tasa aumenta del desempleo, y fuera de eso nos pongan una reforma tributaria a los de la clase media y los ricos paguen menos, la clase media responda por eso y la clase media pasa a la clase baja, cada día más pobre. Es que no puede ser, es injusto. Yo les digo que admiración total.
Thank you so much, Zoraida. Angélica, it's going to help us with the translation. Muchas gracias, María de los Ángeles y Zoraida, por unirse. Vamos a hacer una traducción bruta. We really apologize for this translation, but you know, it is what it is. We are improvising and we just want to show solidarity.
Yeah, indeed. So we have Maria de los Ángeles and Zoraida. They are joining us from Belgium. And here, like what they expressed was mainly like they want to express support to the Colombians. They want to send the message that they are not alone, that the Colombian community living abroad is also supporting them and is also sort of feeling the frustration, especially seeing on TV and on media the situation, seeing that there is censorship in Colombia, that even in some cities like Siloé, which is located in the region of Cali, the energy service has been just cut down, so people cannot have access to internet and cannot sort of spread the situation abroad. They show images and share the situation, but as well seeing all the mass violence and massive violence, and just thinking how hard it is to see their family back home in the midst of this situation happening in Colombia. So they are also expressing how hard it is to see, but how hard, but also how proud many people living abroad feel when seeing the young Colombian people, the youth, giving their best, and in some cases, sadly, giving their lives for a common cause, for justice in Colombia, for equality, for a better living for the people, and also doing all this in response to such a thing as a tax reform that was created in the midst of a big unemployment rate in Colombia, and that was trying to ask medium and low classes to support the economy of the country when the situation is in such a bad condition as it has always been, but now more than ever, I think I would add to what they expressed. And they closed the message by saying that they expressed a huge admiration for the Colombian protesters who are there in the front line, giving their best for the country. Thank you so much, Maria de los Ángeles. And
thank you so much, Angélica, for that translation. And thank you so much, Maria de los Ángeles. Muchas gracias. This is the message that how we see people in Colombia. full of bravery and full of courage. Now, I would like to invite you to watch a video. We have two videos. One from Cali, from Maite Misas. She's part of the collective, El Colectivo Taller Stanislao Zuleta. And also we are going to listen a second video from Wilson Arias, who's senator. He's member of the party Polo Democrático Alternativo. He's also from Cali. So now I invite you to watch these both videos. They have subtitles.
Hello, greetings from Cali, Colombia. On April 28th, the Colombian citizens took to the streets to embrace the social protest in a calm, colorful, festive and peaceful way. Since then, it has been 15 days of the national strike. We have directly experienced the government's systematic attack against the social protest, a systematic violation of human rights. They applied to us the old strategy of the internal enemy. They are giving an almost warlike treatment to a social protest that takes place within the cities. They also want to apply the tactic of fear to us. They are constantly intimidating, provoking them in the streets, trying to justify all this violation of human rights. According to various human rights organizations in Colombia, more than 50 people have been killed amid the strike. 435 people have allegedly disappeared. This had been reported by May 10, 2021. Us, the women, have also been claiming several rapes and sexual harassment by the national policemen. We firmly reject this criminal way of treating social protest. We also claim this social protest, this national strike, has had very important achievements. We can claim that we overthrew the tax reform. We can claim that we overthrew former Minister Carrasquilla, former Minister of Finance. We can claim today that Colombian citizens are increasingly united, and especially that they embrace at ease the idea that rights can be demanded through social protest. That is why we are here amid these contrasts, defending the national strike. Long live the national strike.
La portentosa movilización que se adelanta en Colombia tuvo sus orígenes en la presentación de una reforma tributaria que le aplicaba impuestos a los alimentos, a los salarios y a las pensiones en una sociedad que tiene mucho más hambre y mucho menos ingreso. Los autoconvocados a este paro resultaron ser en número muy superior a los convocados. El Comité Nacional de Paro, que tiene efectivos en todo el país, es una muy buena convocatoria, pero los autoconvocados resultaron ser, en virtud de la explosión social, una marejada humana de todos los colores, capas sociales que participan, una presencia muy fuerte de juventudes populares y de mujeres, bueno, y de sectores variopintos realmente. La agudísima, absurda, irracional, desmesurada represión con que el gobierno ha respondido ha producido choques permanentes. La bronca eterna de las juventudes populares con una policía que lo humilla, que le persigue, que le tortura en los que hay de Colombia, tuvo su lugar en la calle. Y ha habido una constante refriega que viene y va durante todos estos días y que no siempre permite que pensemos con lucidez, pero que ha sido, digamos, producto de la absurda represión oficial. En estos momentos, lo que consideramos pertinente es que tratemos de consolidar todas esas banderas. Les sugerimos respetuosamente a todos tratar de poner sobre la mesa las distintas reivindicaciones, tratar de unificarlas, tratar de razonar y en lo posible, muy fraternalmente, intentar también otras formas de expresión que por lo pronto van siendo y nos alegra, por ejemplo, los espacios asamblearios. Mucha asamblea popular para que podamos discutir adecuadamente, pero además para dar lugar a procesos de desarrollo del movimiento, desarrollo inmediato, objetivos, bandera, negociación y desarrollo de largo plazo, para dónde va un movimiento de esta naturaleza y para dónde va el país. Movimiento social de cara al futuro de Colombia.
Thank you so much, Maite and Wilson, for these powerful videos, also sharing this important message about the importance to develop popular assemblies in each corner of Colombia. Each neighborhood, each village must be an assembly to still build democracy and to still build this national strike that hopefully can bring Colombian more social justice, more democracy. Okay, and now I'm gonna switch super fast to Spanish and I apologize. Ahora voy a hablar un poco en español porque es para mí un honor y una alegría muy grande presentarles. Vamos a ver un pequeño video de una canción que se llama Militares de Reincidentes. Nos acompaña el día de hoy Manuel Garzón, uno de los autores de la canción. Y pues nada, muy, muy felices, muy alegres de que Manuel nos acompañe y de poder ver la canción. Voy a autotraducirme, qué pena. Okay, we're really happy that today we are going to show you a video of a rap song from Colombia, Militares. This song is very, very special because it was launched last year for the 20th of July, which is like the one national holiday in Colombia. And during this day in Colombia, we have military parades, we have like the army on the streets, you know, but this song shows what the army and members of the public forces, they are doing now in Colombia, violating human rights. So it's a powerful message. One of the authors of the song is Manuel. Manuel is here with us. So first of all, we are going to listen 1 minute of the song, and then we are gonna listen to Manuel. Primero vamos a escuchar 1 minuto de la canción, y luego vamos a escuchar a Manuel.
Del país del Sagrado Corazón y su hipocresía, fuerza de cipayos, soldados lacayos, lavaperros de la CIA. En este árbol de manzanas podrías, ¿cuál será la sana? Semana a semana, otro escándalo en primera plana. Por nato, por matones, por corruptos deberían estar en cana. Con tu pueblo, con tu gente, con la mía, hacen lo que les da la gana. Comandantes de las fuerzas militares repartiendo balas los de Ruana. Al campesino, al joven y a la anciana, mientras sacan perico por la aduana. Gorilas de uniforme, de sí mismo enorme, contra lo inconforme de su república banana. Acá lo sacan de su casa por la noche, mientras duerme le disparan y lo presentan como baja en combate. Así lograron los ascensos, vacaciones, condecoraciones y medallas. No son héroes, no son mártires, son asesinos y canallas. En batallones, brigadas y visiones, por el día de soldados y en la noche como rayas. Hacen perfilamientos, ilegales seguimientos, señalamientos, que luego terminan en homicidio, lesiones y tormentos. Honor, patria, lealtad, sí, cómo no. Seguro le chuzaron el teléfono.
Ok, thank you so much for this song. Muchas gracias por esta canción, este mensaje hip hop pues, desde los artistas populares de Colombia. Tenemos a Manuel online en nuestra manifestación. Entonces quisiera pues escucharlo, agradecerle por compartir su arte con nosotras y aceptar esta invitación. So thanks Manuel for joining us, and yes, this is just to show you how popular art is taking over all around Colombia. So Manuel, go ahead, porfis. Manuel.
Hola Aita, buenos días a ti y a todas las personas que nos acompañan en este plantón virtual. Muchas gracias por la invitación y por la participación. Pues bueno, efectivamente, se ha dicho aquí también, es un momento muy complicado el que estamos viviendo, de violaciones sistemáticas a los derechos humanos, de abusos de la fuerza pública, más de 50 personas, jóvenes la mayoría, asesinadas, más de 500 heridas, de ellas más de 50 por armas de fuego. Hay más de 300 jóvenes cuyo paradero desconocemos, es decir, que se encuentran desaparecidos, desaparecidas. Más de 15 casos de violencia sexual, el último de ellos hace 3 días con una muchacha agredida sexualmente en Popayán por 4 agentes del ESMAD y que luego decidió suicidarse. Más de 1.400 personas que han sido privadas de la libertad injustamente. La gran mayoría de ellos después han recobrado su libertad por procedimientos claramente ilegales. Sin embargo, pese a todo ese contexto tan complejo, tan difícil de violaciones a los derechos humanos, hay también motivos para el optimismo y hay motivos para la alegría y motivos para seguir saliendo a las calles a exigir pues la reparación de los derechos de todas estas víctimas que hemos enunciado, pero también pues la transformación estructural de un país supremamente injusto. Lo decían en las pasadas intervenciones, hay sobre todo un protagonismo hermoso de las juventudes en las calles, apropiadas de su ciudadanía, haciendo exigir sus derechos. Hay una creatividad inmensa en las manifestaciones, muy coloridas, muy diversas, muy plurales. Esto tiene también una característica de que no hay ni una organización ni varias organizaciones, diría yo, que tengan un especial protagonismo en la orientación, en la conducción de las movilizaciones, sino que hemos visto sobre todo son pequeños puntos locales donde la gente desde su comunidad, su barrio, su parche, etcétera, se autoconvoca y desde ahí empieza un torrente indetenible que también nos da esperanzas y ánimo de que en el futuro cercano, pues esto sea la semilla de la construcción de una nueva Colombia plural, diversa, incluyente, democrática. La única manera de materializar eso, pues, es continuar con la movilización. Ha habido logros, pues, innegables: el retiro de la reforma tributaria, la renuncia del ministro de Hacienda, la renuncia de la canciller, y bueno, se está construyendo un nuevo país también desde el arte, la cultura y con un protagonismo inmenso de los jóvenes.
Gracias, Manuel. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to try to translate. Voy a hacer una traducción burda de este mensaje que compartes. Me disculpo. I'm just going to do a really fast translation. Yes, I really apologize. I'm trying to do my best. Well, it is what it is. Okay, so Manuel, he just want to he just want to call the attention about the serious situation regarding human rights violations in the country. He's telling us that just 2 days ago there was this case of a minor who got sexually assaulted by members of the riot police and members of in Colombia we call it SMAT. It has called like the attention and has generated a popular rage, and with all the reason because of this terrible situation. Now in Colombia there are 1,400 people, like they are in jail without a fair trial, without a fair judicial process. So this is like the difficult situation that is taking place right now in Colombia. However, despite this difficult situation, despite the repression and the violence used by the government and the order forces, people are going out, are taking over the streets to claim reparation for the victims, but not just reparation, but also a structural transformation. And what we are seeing is that now there is a plural, creative social movement in the Colombian streets, and there is not one single organization leading us. It's just the people calling other people to organize this national strike. And so far, this national strike have given the Colombian people some victories. The first, one of those victories are the resignation of two important ministries in Colombia. One is the economy ministry and also the foreign affairs representative. Yes, as Manuel said, now this is also a moment for art, for popular art, to feed the process, to help us, all Colombian people, yes, to still building, to still fighting the national strike. Thank you so much, Manuel. Muchas gracias, Manuel. Traté de hacer mi mejor traducción. Yes, after Manuel, what is next, Angelica? Sorry.
After Manuel, we're going to have Zoraida Hernandez. Actually, I think she was before on camera, but now she's going to be telling us some of her opinions and insights and perspectives on the topic. So, Zoraida, the floor is yours.
Lo puedes hacer en español, Zoraida, no hay ningún problema, vamos a traducir.
Te escuchamos.
Oh, ok, perdón, ¿me puedes repetir la pregunta? Gracias, Cita.
Sí, no te preocupes. Bueno, ahora te abrimos el espacio para que nos cuentes sobre tus perspectivas al respecto, sobre cómo se ha vivido la situación desde Bélgica, y puedes hacerlo en español. Yo voy a traducir tu intervención.
Bueno, hola a todos y todas, las panelistas invitados, a todas las personas que nos están escuchando. Un saludo muy fraterno a todas las personas que se encuentran en Colombia, sobre todo a los jóvenes y a las madres de los jóvenes que han sido víctimas en el marco de estas protestas sociales. Pues por supuesto, este es un momento importante para enviarle un mensaje muy claro al gobierno de Colombia, y es en el sentido de que Colombia no está solo y que la humanidad entera está indignada, porque lo que está sucediendo en Colombia no son simples enfrentamientos como los medios de comunicación vienen planteándolo y como de alguna manera venimos repitiendo ese tipo de lenguaje. Hay enfrentamientos entre los manifestantes y la policía, porque no son enfrentamientos. Aquí lo que está sucediendo realmente es el cometimiento de una serie de crímenes de lesa humanidad en el marco, el contexto de la protesta social. Entonces ese es un primer elemento que me parece importante, y porque son crímenes de lesa humanidad, la humanidad en su conjunto se encuentra ofendida, y la humanidad en su conjunto de la misma manera tiene que actuar para que los responsables de estos crímenes que están siendo cometidos contra las personas manifestantes en Colombia, contra los jóvenes, tienen que pagar, tienen que ser llevados a la justicia, y como sabemos los niveles de impunidad que existen en Colombia, pues seguramente tendrán que ser juzgados por tribunales internacionales. De hecho, la semana pasada, un grupo de organizaciones de derechos humanos presentamos a la Corte Penal Internacional un escrito, una comunicación con el objetivo de que la Corte Penal Internacional tenga en cuenta que en Colombia lo que ha habido no se trata de una cantidad de hechos aislados que se han cometido por parte de la policía, no se trata solamente de un tema de abuso de la fuerza, sino que han sido hechos no aislados, que no han sido hechos esporádicos, que no han sido hechos espontáneos por parte de la fuerza pública, que hay unos patrones claros en los cuales se puede demostrar que ha habido una generalidad, que ha habido una sistematicidad en el marco del tratamiento que se le ha dado a la protesta social. Y por supuesto, cuando nosotros miramos, por ejemplo, la cantidad de asesinatos que han habido, de los asesinatos que han habido, es imposible que hayan 51 por arma de fuego, que hayan 35 personas que hayan sido lesionadas directamente en sus ojos, que hayan se está denunciando en este momento, que es muy grave, por supuesto, para nosotros como mujeres, pero también en general para la humanidad, los casos de abuso sexual por parte de la policía, y también los casos en los cuales la policía es responsable y presuntamente responsable por violación. Entonces, estos no son casos de abuso, estos son crímenes de lesa humanidad, y así lo debe comprender la humanidad entera. Hemos identificado, por supuesto, y eso es algo que tenemos que seguirlo visibilizando, las formas y el modus operandi en el que han venido actuando las fuerzas de seguridad del Estado. Entonces, por un lado, pues vienen desarrollando una serie de estigmatización. La estigmatización es uno de los primeros, la estigmatización es una de las primeras cadenas que suceden en el marco de una cantidad de hechos en los cuales posteriormente se asesina, se dispara, se organizan grupos privados de agentes de civil, y todo ello, digamos, pues en términos de una complicidad con la policía. Entonces, ustedes yo creo que recordarán cómo el 30 de abril, por ejemplo, a eso de las 9 de la mañana, desde el Twitter del expresidente Álvaro Uribe, se le dijo al país y a aquellos que tienen las armas: apoyemos el derecho de soldados y policías de utilizar sus armas para defender su integridad y para defender a las personas y bienes de la acción criminal del terrorismo vandálico. Eso, estigmatizar a los manifestantes, decir que la protesta social y quienes están en la protesta social son vándalos o son terroristas y que hay que usar las armas contra ellos, pues en efecto así sucedió y así ha venido sucediendo, y por eso ha desencadenado también una serie de hechos bastante lamentables en el marco, digamos, de una protesta social que no ha sido concebida como un derecho, sino de una protesta social que ha sido concebida como un problema de orden público, y una protesta social que en consecuencia entonces ha tenido un tratamiento de guerra. Ese es uno de los de lo que vemos históricamente, y de lo que ha acontecido históricamente, pero además de lo que la comunidad internacional se está dando cuenta.
Thank you so much, Zoraida, for your opinion and your insights. They are really relevant, and I guess, and at least in my opinion, I think many of us agree with many of the points that you expressed. Pienso que muchos estamos en la misma página en cuanto a las perspectivas que tú tienes al respecto. Y nada, muchas gracias por tu participación. Ahora voy a hacer la traducción. Espero haber sido tan rápida para tomar nota de todas las ideas que nos diste. So Zoraida Hernandez, who is part of the committee, Daniel Gillard in Belgium. Not sure if I pronounced that well, because if that's no. What's the committee in which you work? Zoraida, ¿en qué
Yo soy abogada defensora de derechos humanos, soy integrante del Comité de Solidaridad con los Presos Políticos, la organización no gubernamental colombiana.
Okay, so she's part of a non-government organization that works on human rights. She's a lawyer, and she's expressing, first of all, she's sending her special greetings to the mothers of those victims who have who exist now in Colombia after all these days of protest. And she's expressing that this situation has been a concern not only for Colombians, but for the whole humanity, who has seen all the cases of violence and the massive violence against the Colombians. She's talking as well, or she's raising a really interesting point concerning the language that has been used and that has sort of increased the violence and the stigmatization of the protesters in Colombia. So in Colombia, for instance, people, some sectors of the society have been framing this protest as a fight between people and police, but it is certainly not the case. This is pretty much, as she sees as a lawyer, she sees this as a case of crimes against humanity, because what is happening in Colombia is that people are demonstrating, which is constitutional and legitimate right, but then you have public appearances on opinions on social media from people like the ex-president Álvaro Uribe Vélez, who has been stigmatizing the protest and who has been encouraging the Colombian government to treat these protests as a war. So people have been murdered and injured in a way that is not normal to treat protests. So she was also pointing out that the foreign or the international community living abroad has started initiatives to encourage the International Criminal Court to investigate this situation in Colombia, not just as protests, but as human rights violations and human rights crimes against humanity. Let me see. Yeah, she's also mentioning something pretty important, and is that, I mean, violence is a really big concept or broad concept, but she's expressing specific crimes that have been committed, such as around 51 people that have been injured with firearms or with guns. Also people who have been injured, who have had eye injuries during the protests, and also sexual abuse by the police to some of the protesters. So that's why she also points that these are crimes against humanity, that the sort of, I would say in my own words and in the translation, this sort of like the modus operandi of the government of Colombia and many public figures has been to stigmatize the protest, to then apply violence and treat the situation as a war against demonstrators. So, Zoraida, muchas gracias. Thank you so much for your participation. So now we're gonna go back to some video material that we have. We're gonna show you a video from the Autoridades Indígenas. These are the indigenous authorities of Colombia, which is a movement of indigenous who have been working to defend the lands and defend their rights as people of the world and as citizens of Colombia. So they sent us a really really nice and powerful message that we want to show you now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is María Amparo Guetio Ocampo. I work as a Newish of the ancestral territory of Las Delicias, municipality of Buenos Aires, Cauca, Colombia. Good afternoon to all the international community that is watching us. My name is Luis Fabián Camayo and I am part of the authority of the territory of Las Delicias. First of all, to reiterate that we as indigenous communities are also Colombians. We are also affected by the policies of the national government. The Minga is accompanying the city of Cali because of the outrages that the government, headed by the National Police, is causing to the citizens who are on strike against the reform and the policies of the government. The reception we received there was by the social sectors that are currently on strike. But we also denounce that a minority of citizens who call themselves good citizens received us with a bad experience, such as the fact that they began to use weapons against the civilian population, in this case the Minga. We take advantage of this space to reiterate and denounce human rights violations. Today, civilians are using short and long-range weapons that are used exclusively by the security forces. So we do not understand how these weapons are getting into the hands of civilians. The accompaniment given to the different sites, the sites of resistance in the strike, there's a dialogue with people. Experiences are shared. Regarding the analysis, we see that we have a government that is very close to the dialogue with the social and indigenous sectors. They are there in a peaceful protest against the government's laws. One of the perspectives we saw when we left the city of Cali on the 12th was that the people wanted us to continue accompanying them. Firstly, because they saw the issue of the indigenous Minga as a peaceful resistance. And secondly, because we were there, we were able to minimize the attack by the public forces. So they were left with a fear that if we left, there would be reprisals against them for the eviction of the points. What we asked of the international community, more than sending them a message, is to thank them for the spaces where they have been accompanying us, making visible what is happening today in our country. Since the traditional media that favors the government have not wanted to show the true reality that Colombians are living today in the face of this strike, and we continue to invite them to continue supporting us from abroad, helping to make visible this whole process as an indigenous Minga, as a social sector and as citizens who are unhappy with the laws of the national government.
So now after seeing or listening to this message from the autoridades indígenas or indigenous authorities of Colombia, I want to welcome Rodrigo Chaverra, who is a Colombian living in Spain. He has a PhD in philosophy of law, and Sebastián González Aguilera, who's a Colombian, who is now in Colombia, who is a sociologist. So welcome to our online streaming, and yeah, the floor is all yours. So bienvenidos. Rodrigo y Sebastián pueden hacer su intervención en español y nosotras les vamos a ayudar con la traducción.
Antes creo que Sebastián no está. Sebastián no ha llegado, pero entonces escuchamos a Rodrigo, no hay ningún problema. Sebastián is not here, but we can go ahead with Rodrigo.
Hola, buenas tardes. Bueno, gracias por la invitación y por hacer estas actividades tan importantes de cara a lo que está sucediendo en Colombia. Yo, pues, inicialmente, esta primera parte, quería decir sobre qué se siente. O sea, la pregunta inicial era en torno a qué se siente y cómo lo vive uno desde afuera lo que está pasando en Colombia. Yo me concentraría en dos asuntos, ¿cierto? Las emociones, finalmente hay que no solo quedarse con ellas, sino pensar qué se hace con ellas, ¿sí? Y por una parte, pues entonces me referiría a esa frase del filósofo Benjamin, que hablaba de organizar el pesimismo. Creo que eso es fundamental en este momento, ¿cierto? Organizar el pesimismo. Y en segundo lugar, pues habría que también en este momento organizar la esperanza, ¿sí? No sé si entonces por el lado del pesimismo, ¿por qué? Porque las fuerzas reaccionarias, que ya están bien acostumbradas a eso, están desplegando y van a continuar desplegando la violencia. O sea, más allá del paro, lo que van a seguir desplegando es violencia en la sociedad. De diversas maneras, y como bien lo han hecho durante décadas, una de las principales es el autoritarismo, y el autoritarismo lo van a ejercer jurídicamente, lo van a ejercer políticamente, jurídicamente encauzando la protesta social, y en eso me referiré entonces en un segundo plano a la criminalización de la protesta, ¿cierto? Y a los manifestantes individualizándolos, ¿sí? Ese autoritarismo político ya se ve cómo tienen la intención de instaurar un estado de excepción a través del cual gobernar. Pero no va a ser el estado de excepción exclusivamente el que decretado nos ponga en ese plano de alarma. No, las medidas de excepcionalismo penal, de excepcionalismo político, ya nos están gobernando, se han instaurado y a través de la excepcionalidad nos gobiernan. Vemos hoy lo que vemos en las protestas, como bien está transmitiendo allí Carolina, vemos en su mensaje, en su imagen, y esto es el reflejo de que hay un autoritarismo que se despliega militarmente por las calles, pero a la vez está el autoritarismo paramilitar, que de eso hay bastante en Colombia y larga experiencia tenemos en eso. Entonces, hay que organizar el pesimismo porque esa violencia se va a continuar desplegando en los próximos años en Colombia. De ahí el desprecio a un proceso de paz, ¿sí? Porque necesitan gobernarnos a través de la guerra. Como soy extenso, creo que prefiero que traduzcan hasta acá y después continúo con organizar la esperanza.
Antes de la traducción, before going with the translation, because Caro is now live, she's in Den Haag, in The Hague. She's in front of the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Carolina se encuentra en estos momentos al frente de la Corte Internacional de Justicia de las Naciones Unidas, que tiene su sede en el Palacio de la Paz de La Haya. Y vemos algunas imágenes de ella allí, pero no la podemos escuchar. Carolina, ¿nos escuchas? Carolina, can you hear us?
No, I don't think so. Maybe she's just recording to show us what's going on.
Unfortunately, yes. There is not audio. It's not possible audio, but the image
yeah,
that you are seeing now.
Yeah, what we can do is to go on with the translation and then give it a try again with Carolina to try to reach her.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to translate the participation of our guest, and he was talking about how important it is at this moment to think about our feelings and about how to sort of go through those feelings, how important it is to think our feelings and to sort of organize them. He's quoting Benjamin, and he's mentioning his quote that says that we need to organize the pessimism, but he just sort of changes a bit and says we need to organize our hope. He is mentioning that violence in Colombia has been sort of spread by these reactionary forces that through legal, political, and authoritarian regimes or ways of acting have been criminalizing the protest. So he is mentioning in this case that the state is using some strategies like the state of exception to sort of activate an alarm and to show precisely that characteristic that they have, like to show their forces, which is showing that they have the authority and applying the authority in two ways. He's mentioning that authoritarianism happens through governmental practice, using the national armed forces, but also through paramilitarism, that is another force that has been very much connected to the government and that is part of all this systematic problem happening in Colombia. So, después de haber traducido tu mensaje, no sé si quieras mencionar algo más, complementar tu intervención.
Sí, Angélica, muchas
¿Rodrigo?
gracias. Sí, Angélica, muchas gracias. Sí, porque decía que en segundo lugar esas emociones a qué me conducen, ¿verdad? Que debemos de seguir una línea de organizar la esperanza, ¿cierto? ¿Y en qué sentido lo digo? Porque ¿cuál es la emoción que me embarga? Y es que la era está pariendo un corazón. O sea, eso es innegable. Y los que de pronto, o sea, si se le hace seguimiento a los procesos de movilización social a través del tiempo en Colombia, ¿cierto? Nos damos cuenta que aquí está pasando algo diferente, algo muy, muy diferente. Y que yo resumiría en dos aspectos, en que hay un encuentro de luchas interseccionales, ¿sí? Aquí son diversos actores excluidos históricamente, oprimidos históricamente, que decidieron marchar en conjunto, ¿sí? Y que lo que se ve en las calles es un pueblo marchando. No son los estudiantes, no son los sindicatos, no son los campesinos, es un pueblo marchando. Y esto es un asunto que explica por qué vemos tantas personas en la calle, porque hay una confluencia, porque hay un encuentro de luchas interseccionales. Eso es importante entenderlo. ¿Por qué? O sea, ¿por qué está pariendo un corazón esta era? En segundo lugar, diría yo que hay un encuentro también generacional, diría al menos de dos generaciones o tres. A las dos primeras, a las que les quitaron todo, absolutamente todo. Y ahora vemos una juventud que además de quitarle todo y haber nacido con todo, no nacieron con miedo, no tienen miedo, no tienen miedo. Y se encuentran esas generaciones en la calle en este momento, haciendo lo que están haciendo, resistiendo como están resistiendo. Y esto ya no hay quien lo pare, porque es que, entonces, ¿qué hacemos con organizar el pesimismo y organizar la esperanza? Bien, como están haciendo, no están cayendo en la trampa de lo que quiere el gobierno, que es conducir a una violencia exacerbada. No. Los manifestantes respondieron inteligentemente con arte, con asambleas populares. Entonces ahí es donde ese pesimismo, porque nos están matando, se ha organizado y se ha convertido en esperanza. Ese es el camino que hay que continuar ante eso que se viene. Mucha más violencia se viene. Yeah. Pero lo que hay que resistir es desde esa cuestión.
Muchas gracias, Rodrigo, por tu intervención. So Rodrigo was talking a bit, like sort of elaborating on his idea of how going through our emotions contribute to organize the hope, and especially in this moment in which there is a sort of awakening from the hearts of Colombians, and I would say from the international community. And it has encountered a sort of intersectionality in which you see different actors who are working towards positioning their struggles and showing their struggles. So what you see in the streets in Colombia is big part of the Colombian community demonstrating, but also a generational encounter in which you have almost 2 or almost 3 generations. The oldest, which are generations that have lost almost everything taken by, I would say, the government, the policies of happening in Colombia, but also the youngest generations that are not afraid to contribute to a change. And in this way, in Colombia, there is a sort of organization of pessimism in which that is helping not only to act, but also to not react with violence against the violence that the government has exerted on the population. So thank you so much, Rodrigo. Muchas gracias por tu intervención.
Gracias, Rodrigo. Thank you so much.
Gracias.
I'm really sorry for the letrerito, lo siento, pero hay un límite de tiempo por el programa que tenemos. I'm really sorry.
Listo.
So now we are going. I'm gonna invite you. I'm gonna invite you to watch 2 videos. One from Yuri Neira. Yuri Neira is the father of Nicolás Neira, who was a young boy assassinated by the riot police in 2005. And finally, this year, the longest trial that his father was seeking, to achieve justice, finally just end up. And this is a pretty good, this is something pretty good that happened. For those who were seeking justice, and for Yuri and for Nicolás, who unfortunately is not among us because of the police brutality. Then, after Yuri, we are going to listen the message that Iván Cepeda, is Colombian senator, member of the Polo Democrático Alternativo, a short message that he sent to us and that he wants to share.
In the oldest pseudo-democracy in Latin America, Colombia, they're killing us. They're not only murdering young people, they're not only murdering students, they are not only murdering peasants, they are also murdering critical thinking. They are murdering the future of the country. Since the 28th of April, the Colombian people have risen up against a horde of murderers. Let us remember that Colombia is governed by a puppet who behind him is a great paramilitary, a 7-soul genocide. Let us hope that the Colombian people endure and continue to resist. We are telling the whole world what is happening in Colombia. We're telling the people, the whole world, about the bravery of the Colombian people, the bravery of the people who are on the streets, the bravery of all those women who go out, the bravery of all those men, the bravery of all street vendors. We are not represented by any union, nor by the truck drivers. The Colombian people represent themselves. We will continue to denounce and support all actions that go against the path of truth and justice. Colombia forward, always in the struggle. That is why we always say, my voice is shouting, my dream is the one that remains whole, and now that I only die when you are slacking. Because the one who died fighting lives on in every comrade. Fraternal hugs from the other side.
Gigantic mobilizations have been taking place in Colombia since 2013. The first ones were in 2013 to 2014. These corresponded with peasant mobilizations. Afterwards, we have been having periodically, and each time in a more multitudinous way, this kind of mobilizations are transforming into strikes. The last of them is the one that is currently taking place in Colombia since 28th April, which started as a protest against the regressive tax reform and has grown into a political movement demanding change in Colombia.
por un cambio político en Colombia.
The government's response has been absolutely brutal and repressive through the police and the army, but this has not prevented the mobilization from continuing. That is why I call, especially in other countries, in Europe, in the United States, in Canada, support and show solidarity with the Colombian people in this struggle against opprobrium and social inequality, for peace and democracy.
Okay, thank you so much, Yuri and Ivan Cepeda, for these videos. Ivan highlights how this transformation can be traced back in 2013 with the peasants and agrarian mobilizations, and also how the peace agreement contribute to open a democratic window in the country. So in our agenda, we have Santiago and Milena, Santiago from Colombia and Milena from New York, but I have to ask you kindly that maybe you can hold 2 minutes more, because we have our guest, Verónica Vélez from Unidas por la Paz Berlin, and she has to leave earlier. So it would be nice if we can listen first. Verónica, she is joining us from Berlin, and she will tell us what they have been doing regarding the demonstrations and the solidarity actions in Berlin. So Verónica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ita, and I will try to be short in my presentation, and thanks for the invitation. I think there is maybe not much more to say about the analysis, because the previous presentations elaborate a lot of analysis about what is going on in Colombia and how we can explain this complex situation that is alarming in one side, but it also poses opportunities and poses maybe chances for transformation, deep transformations. So to just let you know about what is going on in Berlin, and how people are also here taking the streets and demonstrating, we like to say that even though we have a strong organization here, I would say, which is called Unidas por la Paz, and there are others as well, the mobilization is not organized. The mobilization that we see here in Berlin is people which is convocating themselves to go to the streets, and we are trying to help and support as much as we can. For instance, producing materials to put in our media to show them and teach them how to get access to the police permission, how to get the security measures that are needed, like all these sort of things that could be obstacles for people demonstrating could be passed easily if we do kind of help each other with that. So in one hand, we are doing this. In the other hand, I'm glad to say that due to like the political pressure and the political incidents that we are applying here, 14 parliamentaries have sent a letter to the president of Colombia, and the ambassador of Colombia in Germany has responded to that letter to the parliamentaries, saying that the violence is not as strong and alarming as they denounced in the first letter. What is very interesting to say is that after the ambassador responded, again, these parliamentaries, 13 of them, respond back to the ambassadors with, saying that's not true, that only that the situation is not as alarming. No, actually, we are deeply concerned because what is happening in the human rights standards is something that should put all the alarms. So it is direct correspondence going on there. And I think that in other cities is some things that could be also, multiplied if this brings some leverage points. The idea to do is bring that to Colombia and making Colombia with this something that media could work and put pressure in Colombia. And finally, I would like to say that we are trying to strengthen our networks with other activists in the city, not only Colombians, Latin American people, the left activists, people who came and wants to know more about it. It is, I think, also a good opportunity to get to know each other closer and try to work closer in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Thank you to all the Colectivo Unidas por la Paz for accepting this invitation. I would like to say that actually in Berlin, there was planned an action today, a demonstration today, but because of latest development with the Palestinian situation, the city has decided to postpone the demonstrations to tomorrow. So that's why the Colombians couldn't demonstrate today in Berlin. Now we are going to listen Santiago Garcés. He's in Bogota, and then Milena Gutierrez, she's in Miami. Santiago, he is a close friend to mine, and I'm really happy that he accepted this invitation. He's part of the CINEP. He's one researcher in CINEP. So Santiago, the floor is yours. What do you want to share with us? Please give us your perception, your insights about what is happening with this national strike in Colombia right now.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation, Ita. I am glad to be here with you all in this digital demonstration. I am Santiago Garcés. I am a researcher at the Center for Investigation and Popular Education. I have been a migrant, and I know how difficult it can be to be abroad in situations like this. So I want to send you my solidarity to you all and a giant hug. I would like to talk about the repression and what it implies. What has happened these 2 weeks reinforce the need to reform the national police. There are at least 3 elements deeply dangerous to democracy and rooted in the institutional culture of the police. And it's a problem we have been suffering many years ago. First of all, their doctrine legitimizes extensive and dangerous deployment of force against urban protest. Second, they also have a paranoid conception of the protest. They think that behind a protest, there is always an international and a diabolical enemy. And third, they hide behind their constitutional powers to justify their police abuses. The national police has to come out of the Ministry of Defense and became a civil corps. It is the least we can do. We also have to demand the implementation of the Peace Accord. That document, that is a treaty that binds the Colombian state, says that the Congress must approve a law that gives more guarantees and rights to the social movements and to social organizations. That has not happened and is one of the many breaches of the Peace Accord by the state. I also want to say two more things. Behind the repression of this government, there is not only arrogance and authoritarianism, there is also a perverse lucidity. They know that in the current political situations and conditions of our country, their economic and social project can only be imposed through repression. That is why there has to be a progressive political change to really address this crisis. We have to demand to the government that stop the militarization and the paramilitarization of the repression against protest. And also the government has to understand that the road to come out of this crisis, it has to pass through a binding negotiation with the National Committee of the National Strike and with all the mobilized sectors and actors that are today protesting in our country. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for the invitation. And I hope, espero que me haya hecho entender.
Thank you so much, Santi. Sí, fue muy claro. Your English was perfect, actually. Thank you so much. Now, we would like to listen to Milena. She's now in Miami. So, Milena, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, greetings from Miami. Hi, everyone. It's really great to join so many friends and fellow Colombians around the world. And let me tell you that as a Colombian abroad, I want to bring greetings from the other Colombia, that extension of our nation. Those Colombians who live abroad, we are still part of our nation. We are the Colombia diaspora. For many of us who left our country so long ago, in my case, I left Colombia at a very, very young age. Packing up, pretty much all our lives, our stories, our memories, it represented, it meant a break with the connection and the bonds that we had with our homeland. Frankly, many of us, my family included, we wanted to close the chapter and break all ties with the country. The traumas, the sad stories, the violence that we all had to witness and undergo, it made that many of us Colombians kind of like carry the Colombian nationality badge with a bit of shame. But slowly and surely, the diaspora, and most importantly, the children of those who first went into exile, the ones we know as 1.5 generation like me, or the second generation, we started expressing interest to reconcile with our backgrounds. Young people in the diaspora, of course, and let me tell you this, guided by many of you guys, guided by young peers who settle in different countries, seeking education opportunities like my friend Aura Angelica, who's present today, we began getting involved in activism, joining forces, as well with longtime activists in our cities. That's why today I want to take the liberty to speak on behalf of those new generations who grew up abroad. We grew up among family silences, families who did not want to talk about our backgrounds, yet we continue practicing, observing our culture, although we didn't want to talk about how we needed to get involved to help our sisters and brothers back home. Our community never acted like a community. We were basically isolated individuals. We thrived, we survived. However, let me tell you that I have witnessed a shift. I have witnessed an awakening. I have witnessed how young people living abroad moved and mobilized by our people and by seeing their suffering. And let me tell you, we're not silent anymore. Silence is no more. You resist in Colombia and we resist with you abroad. I was reading recently how the famous former president tweeted calling us the diplomacy of terrorism. This in an attempt to criminalize and stigmatize the protest actions made by fellow Colombians in many cities around the world. Well, our actions will not stop. Unfortunately for him and his government, we can't protest without being oppressed and violently silenced. And because we can't exert our right to speak up in every country where we are, we will continue amplifying the claims and requests of our people. We have found support of other Colombians with political incidents. State senators, for example, those with Colombian backgrounds who are helping us to bring our concerns and denounces and bring attention to the serious violations and human rights violations in our country. This support has also found echo in many representatives in the US Congress. Representative McGovern, for example, we really want to thank you for leading a request from the Democratic Party demanding an immediate request for the US for Colombia to demilitarize cities in our country and immediately stop funding the Colombian army. I just want to say that we're here resisting with you and you guys are not alone.
Thank you so much, Milena. Thanks you for your message. And it's really nice to see how we, the Colombian diaspora, we are connecting. You in Miami, Aura Angelica in New York, myself in the Netherlands, and our friends in in the rest of the cities. Thank you so much for your powerful message. Now we like to give the floor to Elias Corte. He's a friend of Colombia. He's a German solidarity activist. So thank you so much, Elias, for being here. So the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Dear comrades and friends of the Colombian people, I'm Elias, as Ita Yozara said, and I'm from Germany. I feel very connected to the struggling Colombian people, and I want to express my solidarity today. Thank you for this space for exchange here today. And I think the current protests in Colombia did not come out of nowhere. We all know that. They are the continuation of what started at the end of 2019 with mass protests, and which was only interrupted by the pandemic. The pandemic has only amplified the social problems that have already existed for some time before, and the increase in poverty from 35% to 42% during the pandemic is just one proof of this. Therefore, it is right and necessary that people take to the streets and do not shy away from the unbelievably violent, even dictatorial state of Colombia. The fact that the so-called Western community of values has such a government as an ally says everything about its actual character. Human rights are never the concern of capitalist countries in foreign policy. Colombia needs a government that improves social conditions for the people, implements the peace agreement, and puts an end to the narco-paramilitary rule. In this spirit, venceremos, and greetings of solidarity to all of you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Elias. Thank you so much for your message. Yes, indeed. Yeah, go ahead, Angelica.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we can do a really short sort of translation or some ideas in Spanish, so our audience who speaks Spanish gets a clue about what has been said in the previous interventions. If you want, I can just give it super fast in Spanish before we go to
we have an online protest going on in The Hague, and it would be nice if they can also show what they are doing. So, okay. Yeah, Carolina, we cannot listen. Okay, so these images that we are seeing are in The Hague, in front of the Peace Palace, in front of the International Court of Justice. Like, yes, there is a performance going on. There are people playing music right now. However, there is a problem with the audio, Carolina. We cannot hear. I'm really sad because of this technical issue. Yes, but just to let you know that there are a group of the Colombian diaspora right now in front of the Peace Palace in the city of The Hague, yes, showing solidarity. En estos momentos hay un grupo de colombianas y colombianos en frente de La Haya, en la Corte Internacional de Justicia de las Naciones Unidas, que están expresando solidaridad, están cantando en este momento. Sin embargo, hay un problema con el celular que hace la entrada y lamentablemente sí, no se escucha. Angélica, go ahead with the key messages in Spanish. I think is the moment.
Okay. Sí, qué lástima que no se puede escuchar, pero bueno, se puede ver cómo se están manifestando nuestros compañeros colombianos en La Haya. Y nada, pues creo que me van a faltar muchas de las ideas porque las personas quienes hablaron anteriormente nos dieron muy buenas perspectivas. Santiago Garcés, que nos habló un poco de esta institucionalidad en Colombia que ha creado esta cultura de la violencia y de algún modo esta concepción paranoica de la protesta social y del proyecto de gobierno que tiene sus bases en la violencia, de Estado. Algo un poco de lo que nos contaba Santiago. Lo siento, Santiago, si se me pasan algunas ideas, pero como es un resumen, le voy a dar ideas muy cortas de cada uno. También importante, por ejemplo, Verónica Vélez nos dio también ideas o perspectivas muy importantes en cuanto a las diferentes iniciativas que se han llevado a cabo de la comunidad internacional para enviar cartas a diplomáticos y a entidades relevantes para que empiecen a tomar la situación en Colombia un poco más en serio y a investigar y a ver cuál es la situación que está sucediendo en Colombia. Y también teníamos algunas de las ideas de nuestra participante Milena Gutiérrez desde Estados Unidos, quien nos mencionaba algo muy importante y es este cambio de pensamiento y cómo se está despertando esta mentalidad un poco más de comunidad y de tratar de comprender un poco más el problema que está pasando en Colombia. Un poco como en resumen en español de lo que hablaron nuestros anteriores participantes. Ita, puedes continuar.
Gracias, Angelica. Thank you so much, Angelica. Yes, I'm really sad because we cannot listen what is happening right now in The Hague. The idea was to listen, but it's not possible. No sé por qué no funciona el audio de las personas que están en La Haya. Sin embargo, pues podemos tener estas imágenes para saber que está pasando algo en este momento. We know that something is happening right now. Also, we have a friend, we have a compañero that he will join from Paris, from the demonstration in Paris, and he's trying to connect, but also I don't know what happened today with the technical issues. Me disculpo nuevamente. Estamos intentando que el compañero de París se conecte y nos muestre también la manifestación en vivo desde París. Mientras tanto, podemos ver. So, in the meantime, we can just watch this image on live image from The Hague, from the International Peace Palace in the city of The Hague, en La Haya, en la ciudad de La Haya. And after this, I would like to let you know that 1 week ago in Brussels, there was a demonstration in front of the European Parliament in which participate around 600 Colombians. In front of the Luxembourg Square, la Plaza de Luxemburgo se llenó. Esta plaza, para quienes no saben, queda al frente de la sede del Parlamento Europeo en la ciudad de Bruselas. So it would be nice if we now can see some, yeah. I would like to stop the video with Carolina and see the images from Brussels. So I'm sorry, we are gonna cut the images from The Hague. And yeah. Now, I'm really sorry to do this because now we have to watch, I want to invite you to watch the video from Brussels, from the European Parliament. Ahorita vamos a ver el video de la demostración frente a Bruselas en el Parlamento Europeo.
Claro, el papel de la Unión Europea, ustedes, acá está Francia, está Bélgica, que es la cuna del capitalismo europeo, de la democracia europea, que nos tienen que acompañar en nuestro dolor y no permitir que el gobierno de Iván Duque siga asesinando a los colombianos solamente porque protestamos por sus políticas neofastas.
Thank you so much for that video. So I just want, yes, this video took place 1 week ago in the demonstration in front of the European Parliament, and 600 people in front of the European Parliament asking for structural reforms, but also asking for a police reform and structural reform to the military forces to stop human rights violations. After this, there are two messages from Belgium, actually, one from Veronique and the other one from Paul-Émile. Después de ver este video en el que 600 personas se manifestaron frente al Palacio, frente al Parlamento Europeo, vamos a ver dos mensajes de Paul-Émile y de Veronique. Primero Veronique y después Paul-Émile.
Dear friends, from Belgium we would like to send our deepest solidarity to the Colombian people and movements who are in strike since a few weeks now for basic rights, for justice, for peace. It's disgusting how the Colombian government is being repressive against its own people, is slaughtering its own people. It's a shame. It has no name actually, and we ask our European Union, European Parliament, and also the Belgian government to take a stand, because we have trade agreements with Colombia, like the free trade agreement between Europe and Colombia. So it's very hypocritical to denounce the situation and at the same time do business as usual with multinationals who are plundering the country. We have been out in the streets last week with many people. We were more than 600 people in front of the European Union. We will be out in the streets this weekend. We will be out in the street next week if it's necessary. We will keep in solidarity with the organizations in Colombia. You can count on us. This has to stop. Stop the repression, stop the killings, defend the defenders, justice now.
Hi, I am Paul Dupré. I am currently in Brussels in front of the European Parliament, where I am working currently as lawyer. And I want to express the solidarity with the people of Colombia, with the incredible movement for claiming for justice, for social justice, against the pensional reform, against the tax reform, against the health reform that the government is trying to impose, hitting the fundamental rights of the Colombian people. Here in Brussels, there have been big demonstrations of Colombian people and people in solidarity with Colombia in support of the movement, the Pacific movement that has been repressed so strongly by the government, so currently illegally by the government. We ask the government of Colombia to stop the repression, to stop the massacre. We ask the European authority to suspend the free trade agreement with Colombia as long as they continue to kill social leaders, people who are manifesting, or people who have signed peace and are being killed. All our solidarity with the Colombian people. You are not alone. In the international network, we are many seeing what happens. The wall of silence is breaking. Now people begin to know how peaceful the Colombian people is and how cruel and criminal the authority are. Thank you.
Okay, so after this video, I want to open the floor for Julián Dupont. He's a Colombian artist who is part of the art collective No Más Metáforas. This is a collective that is working right now in Colombia and that has been developing really interesting initiatives concerning arts and experimental thinking. As well has been working with indigenous communities in Colombia. So I'm really happy to welcome Julián Dupont and also Diego, who is joining from Pasto. He is a lawyer and artist. He works on human rights, in the defense of human rights. So welcome, Julián and Diego. So let us know. Julián, go first. Yeah.
Hello. Thank you for the invitation. Here we are with Clara. We are No Más Metáforas. We are working for the last 6 months with the UAIN, with the Autonomous Intercultural Indigenous University in Popayán. And we've been experiencing what has been happening like in a very intense way. Yesterday, as probably you heard, there has been like the assassination of a young student here in Popayán. And we are in constant contact and in constant conversation with the students of the Indigenous University. We have a lot of students that have been in La Minga in Cali that, have been very engaged in what has been happening. And I think there's a very interesting outcomes of the role that El CRIC and indigenous communities have been playing in all these constellation of things. And And I think in that sense, probably we will, like to talk a little about how the, the context that we're experiencing as quotidianity today has embedded the roots of colonialism somehow. And this is a constant discussion that we're having with our partners in the Indigenous University, but also, we live it as an everyday conversation, also, in the conversations with our families, with our friends. So I think this is a very key point for us, how colonialism it's embedded on, the structures that today we experience as the nation state and also as the repressive forces, represented in the police and in the SMAT forces. So in that sense, for us, it's very important to highlight the, somehow the difference between what we have experienced, in our relationship with the Nasa, Coconuco, Misak, and Yanacuna communities, that there's a relation to Earth. There's a way to resolve the relationality to reality that breaks, precisely what for us is like somehow the matrix of the problem we're experiencing constantly here. And it's like as Westerners, in this modality that it's embedded in colonialism, for us a very key point is the objectification as a way of relationship that we can find, in the colonialism, but that you can see it somehow as the repressive state. So for us, the difference between that way of relation with plants, that way of relation with ritual, that another form of life, it's what we need to envision as a possibility opposed to the extractivism that it's also present in the nation state, that it's also present in the repressive forces. So in that sense, for us, the potentiality of what's happening, it's also a breaking point to not just be thinking, in an embedded patriarchal resolution of what's happening in terms of demanding to the state that solve the problems. No. The thing is that, the configuration of the state as a neoliberal apparatus has to do with precisely a configuration that deploys somehow that colonial fragmentation of our way of life as that imperative. So in that sense, the potentiality of what we can learn from La Minga, from what we can learn from the gatherings, these new ways of encounters that are like, emerging in this context, has a potential that it's precisely the potential landscape in where we could find another resolution than, as Manuel Rosenthal and Vilma Almendra, that are like one of the professors that we've been working recently with, they said, we need to stop thinking that we need to call daddy to solve our problems, and that's like to ask for the state to do this, and this. No, we need to think in new possibilities of emancipation that will put that way of relation into question. And that's why La Minga, that's why, popular assemblies are like very key configurations to what's emerging and on what's about to come. So, well, I think that that will be kind of our reading of what's happening at the moment here.
Thank you so much, Julian and Clara, for joining us today. Diego, we'll open the floor to you.
Hey everyone, thanks a lot for this space. Greetings, my name is Diego. I'm a lawyer. I lived in the Netherlands while I studied my master's studies in 2013. I hope my English is not so rusty and you can get my ideas clear. Lately, sooner I was in a park. I was trying to have an interview with someone in Pasto who has been fighting in the first line. I'm a lawyer and I'm a musician, so that's the way how I am being part of the strike. So I wanted to show you to someone who has been standing on the front line, and actually that's something I haven't been able to do. I have been very close in the protest. I have been helping, trying to give first aids, but I haven't had the courage to stand on the first line like these young people do. So for us is something, a movement that is happening that is beyond us. So we're trying to do our best, to give our best to help. Fortunately, here in Pasto, the situation is not so hard as it is in Cali or in Popayan. However, the municipality and the local government has been used as an instrument of the national government to ban, to make censorship, to use the force of the police to silence our voices. What we have been doing here in Pasto is many collective of artists have been get together. We have joined, and we have been taking the streets, but with cultural movements. We have been making concerts, we have been making paintings, and that has been a show to the people that we are not criminals, that we're not trying to damage our own city, our own territory, and we're starting to organize ourselves. We know that this strike is also a place for us to make pedagogy, to show people, to teach people what can we do in the future. So while we are here in the strike and during these cultural events we're making, we're also telling the people why this strike is happening, what abuses have been happening since a long decades ago here in our country with our people, and what can we do next to prevent, to take all these politicians down and to write a new story, as the one who was speaking before said, a new emancipation, a new way of life. So that's the way we are starting to think now here in the localities, like new ways of organization, to have our own sustainability, our own provisions, our own medicines. So we don't depend on the government now to help us to take the strike and keep it going on. Also, what we're doing is helping people from our neighbors. I mean, Cali, Popayan, who have been silenced. We are helping them to spread the voice, and that's where we are. That's what we are doing right now. We are asking also the academic community to help us to do so. We think this truth, this story has to be documented, and the academy has a huge responsibility on telling the truth. We have many papers and journals on social issues, and we would love to work together from here, from Colombia, with those papers, with those journals abroad, to document and to make academic positions around this situation here in Colombia. I think that's one of the ways that people abroad can help. And the other one is to help us with technology for the organization. I think the balance of this fight is undeniable, that they are using lethal forces against people who is almost naked. So we have been using technology, we have been using networks, we have been using our own knowledge to try to survive on this strike. So this is also the way that I think these kind of spaces could help us, no? You know, in Chile, we learn about this laser beam that can help to block or to make the police to not move, you know? So I think there have been many tricks with technology that we could learn, and also that could be invented, that we could use as a community who is organizing now, and who now can use these tools so we can help to spread. The news have been censoring what is happening really in the cities, in the neighborhoods. So it's a new way of communication, what people is doing here with networks, with Facebook, with Instagram. They're doing their lives, and that's the way that we have been showing the world what is happening now. So I think this kind of tools, this kind of networks can be going and working on and evolving in the way that we can help to defend human rights of people and freedom of speech. So from Pasto, we send a very huge hug to our friends who are in the very first line, who are exposing their bodies, their families. And we want to tell them that they're not alone. So thanks for this space. I hope to make more impact on these events.
Thank you so much, Diego. And I think here there were two really interesting perspectives from both Julian and Clara, and as well as Diego, that the people have to start thinking as well how they can just organize themselves in new ways, going back to the thinking of our native indigenous communities on how they self-organize, how to think as well about the neighbors, right? You were mentioning, Diego, how you have been thinking, okay, here in Pasto, the situation is a bit less harassed than in Cali and Popayan. How can we help? How can also, you were mentioning also the role of academics and the academic responsibility on also as well documenting the situation, to start creating a reflection and to engage in the discussion on like what's the problem, what to do. So thank you so much, you two, for your participation. And now we're gonna, today is gonna help us with the video of this group of Colombians, this couple actually, one of them is Colombian, and they run a festival in the Netherlands. It is called, the collective is called Cinema Colombiano. They have a Colombian film festival in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and there they have been contributing to show the Colombian filmmakers that have tried to precisely show different perspectives and different situations in Colombia through cinema. So, Sirey, can we please go with a video of Cinema Colombiano?
Hola. We are Cinema Colombiano.
Sí, Cinema Colombiano.
From Rotterdam.
My name is Joanna Molina.
Also known as Mitze Apocalypse.
Yes.
And I'm Sebastian Luiten.
Also known as Chucho Vinilo.
Well, Cinema Colombiano, we are a film festival actually that started in 2015. Back then there was a stereotype image of Colombia here in Holland, so we really felt the need to change that. We wanted to show more of Colombia, a more complete image of the country. Mm-hmm. That happened for 5 editions, mm-hmm. right? All the way to 2019. Of course, we wanted to do a new edition 2020, bigger than ever, 2 days with a program with all female directors.
And also a bigger team.
Yeah, we expanded our team with Anna and Luisa from Filmhuis Cavia from Amsterdam. But yeah, pandemic happened, so we couldn't do that. We're still hoping to do it this year, but we had to find something else to do. So this year, in the beginning of 2021.
Yeah, we started then Cinema Colombiano Radio and Radio Worm. And it is a weekly radio show every Wednesday where we play soundtracks and we talk about movies. We play Colombian music that it comes from cumbia till punk.
The nice thing is that it's on a weekly basis. Like the festival was always one time every year. So now you got like a weekly transmission from Rotterdam, which also means that you're more connected to the news in Colombia.
We talk about, okay, what happened, all the problem in Colombia, why people were protesting, many reasons to protest. The world needs to know what's happening in Colombia. So we feel the need to talk, to use this space or radio show to talk about what's happening in Colombia.
We discovered a lot of new music, for us unknown, like from the 70s there was already a lot of protest music.
Mm. Oh yeah, that's a good example. She was making música protesta, she was threatened and she must stop them because that's long time ago. There are the same problems in Colombia and they just want to keep silent about these problems, but not anymore. Colombia has opened their eyes. Everybody knows, the whole world knows what kind of government we have now. So what we could say is resistencia. Vamos a salir de esta y keep the spirit up.
¿Qué más? ¿Qué más? ¿Qué más quieren los señores? ¿Qué más? ¿Qué más? ¿Qué más?
Thank you so much for this video from Cinema Colombiano, this amazing initiative in the Netherlands. And now we like to talk with the rest of you who's still here surviving after 2 hours in front of the screen. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias por seguir acá 2 horas frente a la pantalla. There is this message from Zoraida. Zoraida, maybe you still there? Oh no, Zoraida, ¿puedes hacer la invitación de mañana, por favor, antes de que te vayas?
Bueno, muchas gracias por la invitación. Nosotros vamos a continuar desde distintas partes, obviamente como todos ustedes, propugnando para que realmente haya la verdad, la justicia y la reparación para las víctimas, pero también para que se continúe en un proceso de respeto a esa protesta social muy justa, además, porque pues como ustedes también lo planteaban, pues Colombia es el segundo país más desigual de América Latina y que tenemos muchos temas que quedaron refrigerados en el anterior proceso de diálogos y acuerdos con la guerrilla de la FARC, unos acuerdos que debiesen cumplirse, pero además también porque tenemos una expectativa frente a la posibilidad de los diálogos y la reapertura de las mesas de diálogos con el ELN. Hay muchos temas que nosotros vamos a seguir propugnando. Uno es el tema de la reforma, la doctrina militar, una doctrina que ha creado como enemigo interno a los distintos sectores de la sociedad que piensan distinto. Una reforma a la fuerza pública para la paz, que para nosotros es fundamental realmente, una fuerza pública que respete los derechos humanos. Creo que seguimos convenciéndonos que en Colombia existe un gobierno antidemocrático, absolutamente antidemocrático y criminal, y que en este momento, por eso estamos pidiéndole a los distintos organismos internacionales que hay que establecer medidas más contundentes para detener esta masacre y este genocidio al pueblo colombiano que ha alzado su voz y ha protestado como producto pues de la inexistencia de un diálogo y de un cumplimiento a los acuerdos que las comunidades han venido haciendo con el gobierno, las distintas movilizaciones y frente a la inexistencia de unas reformas estructurales. Dentro de eso entonces hay que seguir insistiéndole al Parlamento Europeo, a la Unión Europea, para que pueda aplicar la cláusula democrática que en el marco del TLC con Colombia se fijó, para que Colombia empiece a ser objeto de un análisis y una revisión realmente en cumplimiento de los derechos humanos. Y en fin, tenemos que continuar exigiéndole a los distintos estados sanciones a estos funcionarios en términos también diplomáticos que son responsables de estas graves violaciones a derechos humanos y crímenes de lesa humanidad y también la suspensión de cualquier tipo de apoyo militar a la fuerza pública, al SMAT, al ejército. Creo que son muchas las solicitudes que se vienen planteando a nivel mundial y que nos queda un camino muy grande, y sobre todo el tema de velar por la protección de estas personas que participaron y de todas las organizaciones sociales, movimientos, comunidades, jóvenes en las distintas ciudades, porque en este momento se encuentran en el marco pues, de una situación de amenaza contra la vida, contra la libertad. Y seguramente, si se empieza un camino de diálogo, esperamos que no vayan a haber ningún tipo de retaliación. Para mañana tenemos una jornada a la cual las vamos a invitar, y entonces los dejo con María de los Ángeles para que nos cuenten qué consiste, y muchas gracias a todos y besos. Esperamos que nos ayuden a difundir la actividad de mañana.
Bueno, quería agradecerles por la invitación. Bueno, mañana tenemos una ciclotón en la ciudad de Bruselas. Vamos a hacer una cadena humana también, dando apoyo a Colombia por toda esta causa. Entonces quisiera por favor que difundieran la información. Nosotros creemos que en un comentario anexamos el flyer de la información. Nos vamos a reunir en Cincuentenarios a las 2:30 de la tarde. Vamos a coordinar, hacer una ruta, un recorrido muy estructurado, y vamos a terminar a llegar al punto de encuentro que vamos a hacer la cadena humana, que es la embajada. Entonces ahí, para las personas que deseen ir, las personas que de pronto no quieran ir en bici o algo, pueden llegar a las 3:30 de la tarde a la embajada, y ahí vamos a llegar todos. También vamos a hacer una pausa en el recorrido en la Gran Plaza Flyer, donde se reúnen pues la gran mayoría de turistas como para hacer un acto de arte simbólico. Y bueno, la mejor energía, que cuenten con todos nosotros. No está solo, Colombia no está solo, estamos moviendo todo lo que podamos hacer aquí.
Bien, muchas gracias, con toda la esperanza de ver a todos esos jóvenes, porque realmente son nuevas generaciones que irrumpen de una manera muy bonita para lograr transformaciones en este país que tanto amamos todos los que estamos conectados y los que estamos aquí en este panel. Muchas gracias por la invitación, Aita, y a todo el equipo.
Muchas gracias a ustedes. Voy a compartir un poco de la información sobre la ciclatón en inglés para que sepan.
Vale, gracias.
They were making a really special invitation for the people living in Belgium. And this is going to be the cyclathon. So the idea is that people are going to meet to go by bicycle from Cincuentenario, which is a place in Belgium. They're going to meet at 2:30, and they're going to go around the city till the Embassy of Colombia, la Embajada de Colombia. The Embassy of Colombia in which city? ¿En qué ciudad?
Brussels, in Brussels.
The Embassy of Colombia in Brussels. So we will share, if you just follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Here We Draw the Line, and there we're gonna share with you the flyer of the event. So for the people living in Belgium, you are very welcome to join. And I'm going to close this space for initiatives with this initiative that comes from the United States. Precisely, someone was talking about the importance of starting initiatives and running initiatives that are going to also have an effect on the systematic problems that are supporting violence in Colombia. So this is an initiative by the Action Network, and they are running this petition to stop human rights violations in Colombia and to apply the LEGI law, la ley de LOGI. So the idea is that for the people who are living in the States, the ones who are joining this online streaming, we will share as well this link so you can take a look and you can support the initiative. So then the Colombian government will get less support for the war and for guns and for violence. We'll share with you all this information.
Thank you so much,
Lo cierro en español rápidamente. Para las personas que viven en Estados Unidos, vamos a compartir en nuestras redes sociales también una iniciativa que está corriendo en los Estados Unidos por parte de la red de acción, y es una petición para que se aplique la ley de LOGI en los Estados Unidos y se le disminuya la ayuda financiera para la guerra, para las armas a Colombia. Entonces, nada, súper invitados a que sigan nuestras redes y encuentren ahí todas estas iniciativas.
Gracias, Angelica. Thank you, Angelica. Now we are going to give 2 minutes to the people here in the Zoom who were 2 hours in front of the screen to say goodbye. To also, if you want to recall or give us a reminder, like a key message that you want to share with us, that would be great. So, les vamos a dar 2 minutos para que quienes estamos acá 2 horas que ya llevamos, se despidan, den un mensaje clave. Y con esto pondremos un video y daremos por terminado nuestra online demonstration. Entonces propongo este orden. I will propose first we listen Rodrigo, then Santiago, then Diego, and then Julián and Claire. Okay? Okay, so please go ahead. Vamos entonces.
Muy atentos con el proceso de criminalización de la protesta, porque hace parte de toda una política de alimentar la guerra, negocio que necesitan, igual que el negocio del narcotráfico, para gobernarnos a través del miedo. Se va a continuar en ese sentido de criminalizar la protesta, y la mejor manera de responder, como se viene haciendo, es continuar con el camino de responder con arte, responder con alegría y sobre todo organizarse en lo que viene sucediendo, en estas fiestas barriales, en los barrios populares, en todo esto de que terminan en estas manifestaciones, en estas marchas, terminan en asambleas ciudadanas, asambleas populares. Esto hay que continuar en este camino. La comunidad internacional debe saber que detrás de esto lo que hay es la perpetuación de un proyecto político que necesita mantenerse allí, no solo para mantener estas condiciones de exclusión social, sino para garantizarse la impunidad, porque están sintiendo que la justicia internacional o la justicia transicional les está respirando en el cuello. Entonces, a partir de ahí, esto es lo que explica qué es lo que pasa. Están provocando al pueblo, todo esto es un laboratorio. Todo esto es un laboratorio que se seguirá aplicando como estrategia para sostener la guerra durante el tiempo. Aquí la ciudadanía no ha sido tonta y les ha salido con manifestaciones pacíficas donde lo que brilla es el arte, la música, y ese es el camino. Porque basta con ver las expresiones de todo esto y lo que hay es una ciudadanía activa reclamando por lo más básico en Colombia. Muchas gracias por la invitación.
I will say just really short, a short translation of what Rodrigo just said. So he said that we have really following really close this process of criminalization of the protest, because this is part of the shock doctrine. This is a mechanism to govern, to rule in Colombia, and we need to pay attention on this issue. However, citizens and people, the main response has been art, also the popular party, like a popular party on the streets, and like without one organization leading this, but just the people fighting against structural inequality, and that they are fighting against also this political project that is seeking for impunity, who's currently ruling Colombia. So, and yes, he just said that Colombia is a laboratory, and we have to follow what is happening right now. Thank you so much, Rodrigo. Gracias. Okay, Santi?
I just want to say one thing. I think that our efforts have to be directed to accomplish that international community stops being condescending with the government of Colombia. They are condemning the violence, that is right, but they are not doing a lot more. And we have to accomplish that they stop to be condescending about what is happening to us. Thank you very much for the invitation. I really enjoy it. And I want to say that we feel right here the solidarity of all the mobilizations that you people are doing, that we people, the Colombian people abroad are doing. We really feel it.
Thank you. Maybe now, I don't remember, Julian or Diego, who wants to go first? Diego, okay, go ahead, Diego.
Okay, thank you. Well, to begin, the message is very clear. People is being murdered and abused here in Colombia, and the government is trying to silence us. For us, we have been finding the way, and we think art is the way. We have been using art as the most powerful gun to spread the message and to fight against this government. Also, what we can do is back to local markets, to an auto-sustainability community, to rethink the way we consume, to rethink the way we live and we relate with each other. Now we see with these blockings, with these strikes, even money is useless. Communities and networks are useful now to help people to survive. So this is our message, and also make an invitation of always think on how can I help? It doesn't matter where you are or what you do. There's something you always can do. Maybe help us spread the message. And also there are things that even we don't know, and that's why you are the academic community. You are the ones who know how to make innovation. So help us with technology, with knowledge on how can we have a better organization and to help to spread this message to all around the world. Thank you for this space, and goodbye.
Thank you so much, Diego. Now, Julian, please go ahead.
Well, thank you for the invitation. We really appreciate the potency of what it's emerging in all these conversations, and we think that what we need to keep in perspective is precisely that. I think that what's happening currently is that we're encountering new forms of gathering, and I think that's like a key point to keep knitting. And from our perspective, we are in a very strong engagement with the communities here in Cauca, and we've heard from their positions that what it's like somehow opening a space is precisely the possibility to propose assemblages, popular assemblages, as somehow the path that could be the one to come in the next few days or weeks. So I think that's very important. The conversation, as we were mentioning in our intervention, will be important to not just keep in perspective the reaction to the state, but also what can emerge from these new forms of gathering, as we're mentioning. So thank you very much for the invitation, and let's keep in resonance on what's about to come.
Thank you so much, Julian. Well, then I think that's all. Thank you for the ones who indeed survived. And the nice thing is that we all enjoyed listening to different perspectives. Yeah, Ita, anything else to add?
No, thank you so much to you for joining us. And now we just have to say goodbye. And for you that are in the Zoom, you can just leave the room. We are just gonna play a very last video, which is a message from Colombia, really nice. And you can watch it through our YouTube. So I would like Sirey to play the video from Emisarios del Sur. Sirey, ponemos el video de Emisario y con esto damos por finalizada nuestra transmisión. Muchas gracias a todas y a todos de todos los lados del Atlántico.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Now I start to understand what happens when TV, entertainment, and any source of capitalist consumption gives a kind greeting to egoism. It numbs the sense of solidarity, indoctrinates struggles, and mutilates the aspiration for liberation, turning its back on our roots, and trampling on the culture of a revolution intimately linked to conscience. This strategy only seeks to corrupt humanity. In the long term, we could see coming the cloud of beings who do not feel, do only fill themselves with other people's impressions, distracting them with vanities and desires for power, supported by false leaders who only displace peasants, poisoning our lands to keep us submissive and later enslave our children, indoctrinating their heartbeats so that they are not the source of collective development. It is the history of a prosperous land rich in minerals, fauna, and flora that today seeks to free itself from slavery. Ruling our minds and feeling our hearts, we emit a message that dictates the revolution, to dignify life in order to be in harmony with our fellows and the creation. The arts are a tool of power that invites us to see our past and feel our roots in order to generate a source of inspiration that the new generation needs. Rescuing the development of the first peoples who fought to maintain harmony in the territory. An invitation not to lose courage, not to lose hope to see this fire flourish, to dignify and respect all forms of life. Today, they are killing us in Colombia, and we demand justice from human rights organizations, from the peoples, communities and collectives we ask to be seen as human beings who seek to be helped and not repressed as this narco-state is doing. This is the reason for which we created a path of revolution and transformation based on social conscience. With love, Emisarios del Sur.